Welcome back. I'm Lars Hammer, the pastor at Lord of Grace Lutheran Church in Marana, Arizona. I want to welcome you back to the Walk Through the Psalms, a Bible study series I'm doing on the books of Psalms, various passages of them. Today we're going to look at Psalm 54. We're going to jump to Psalm 54, and we're just going to look at the last two verses, verses 6 and 7. So here we go. We'll read through it. With a free will offering, I will sacrifice to you. I will give thanks to your name, O Lord, for it is good. For he has delivered me from every trouble, and my eye has looked in triumph on my enemies. All right, there you go. Starts out so nice and always has to end with a certain amount of gloating. All right, verse 6 is the one I want to spend maybe most of my attention on today. This idea of a free will offering. With a free will offering, I will sacrifice to you. I will give thanks to your name, O Lord, for it is good. Remember that this in poetry, the Psalms do this a ton, where they'll make the one statement, and then they'll make a second one that's similar, but tweaks it a little bit to give you more levels of meaning. And then, so I'm going to give a free will offering. Now, a free will offering, I hear those words, if you're a good Lutheran, you free will offering, you kind of think of the church potluck or the fundraiser, right? We'll put out the potato bar, and we'll have a basket that says free will offering. So we won't have somebody standing there saying, give me the money or else you can't come in. But there's a basket kind of looming over you, the basket speaking like, we really need the money here. And so we say free will because we're not going to hunt you down. And we don't hunt you down. We don't shame you. There's nobody standing there saying free will offering, but here's my phone, here's the phone, let's keep track of who doesn't. We really do leave it open. But even then, when we say free will offering, we still kind of mean that you're paying, we're just letting you decide how much to pay. But it's still, in a way, kind of a payment, isn't it? It's not really a free will offering. You're still getting something from it. And the basket sits at the beginning of the line of the potluck or the beginning of the potato bar. It doesn't sit at the end. So there's still kind of a sense, you still kind of get a sense that it's somehow a transaction, right? And when we're dealing with the Lord, transactional thinking is so ingrained in us, especially as, modern Americans. We live in a capitalist society, and we tend to view everything in those kind of transactional lenses, right? I give somebody money, I get something else. Or we're bartering, right? I'll give you X and you'll give me this. I'll give you, I'll give you, a lot of times people would do this even with friendships, right? I'll give you friendship and you'll give me a networking connection, right? And we get so ingrained in transactional thinking. It gets into our relationships too, right? I'll give you food, you'll give me, something else. Right? And I'll get a certain need met, and you'll get a certain need met. Is that really love, or is it just an ongoing transaction or a contractual relationship? Transactional thinking gets so much in our ways that I think it can be hard to talk about love, and it can be hard to understand how God works. Because a free will offering is something that really is free. It's something that you're not even guilted into. If you're guilted into it or shamed into it, it's still not free. If you're still worried about a repercussion, if you don't, it's not free, right? If you're worried that, I know I don't have to give back, but, will that affect next time? Will I get another gift next time? So we kind of think in these terms. Or, I know they said you don't have to do anything for me. I really just am giving it to you. But if I don't do anything, will they still kind of think? So we still worry. Free will gifts are really hard to understand. But this is the essence of grace. This is the essence of how God works. That God gives, not expecting a response. And God gives to everyone, even those who give no response. God created this world and gave it for all the people to be in, and it is not all the people who give him thanks for doing it. And it is not all the people who follow him or even believe he exists. And yet God gives this, right? This is the essence of who Jesus is, right? Jesus gives of himself. He gives during his life. He gives in his death. And he does that for people who aren't even paying attention. And he does that and knowing full well that some people will be filled with gratitude at what he did, and some people could care less and they will not respond at all. In fact, most will not respond. But some will be filled with gratitude in their hearts and give a free will offering. That's the sacrifice that this psalmist is going to give. He's not going to give an animal sacrifice. It's going to be a free will sacrifice. It's going to be a sacrifice that's composed mostly of, it says here, I will give thanks to your name. So he's going to praise God's name. And that's part of the sacrifice that he's going to give because of what God did for him first. And this is so, again, this idea of a free will offering. I go back to it because I kind of think of all the ways in which there's sort of something fundamentally unjust or unfair about free will offerings. You know, we kind of think about you give gifts, somebody should at least be gracious and say thank you, right? I find someone's wallet on the ground. We all know the ethical thing is to hand it back without seeing if there's any change in it, right? We know that's the right thing to do. But when we do it, we still kind of hope, don't we, that they might hand us a 20 out of it or at least give us a big thank you. But the truth is, it's still the right thing to do, even if they don't say thank you and go, oh, yeah, that's my wallet, and walk away. Even if they never say thank you, it is still the right thing to do. But it still feels somehow unfair that there are people who get the benefits of a gift, the benefits of God's generosity and God's grace, and they don't thank God for it. And there's something fundamentally unfair about that. We start thinking about the idea of sort of people being moochers or freeloaders, and in America that we really have a disdain for people who are seen as freeloaders. But if you really look at it from God's perspective, we all exist off of the world that God made and the life that God made and the salvation that God has given us, and we all live off of that and exist on that. And only some will ever respond, and yet all those others who don't even believe in God or badmouth him still get to benefit from him. And that's not really fair, is it? But that's how grace works. When you give, you just give because. And that's what God does. God just gives because. And a free will offering, which is what we should be doing in worship. Ideally, that's what worship is us coming and giving back to God, responding to what God has done, as it says in the Psalms, verse 7. For he has delivered me from every trouble. He has delivered me. I will give a free offering because he delivered me. Not, I'll give a free will offering and then I hope he'll deliver me. Or I'll give a free will offering so then he'll deliver me. It's not an earning thing. It's a response. It's a gracious response. And it's a good thing to have a gracious response and not be resentful and bitter towards those who don't give a gracious response. Because that's what grace is. Grace is just given freely to everyone, whether they respond or not. You love all your kids, whether they say you love you. If you're a teacher, you teach all the kids in your classroom, even if they hate you. You still care about them regardless of whether you get anything back. There's no transaction. It is simply a gift. That's the nature of grace. That's the nature of worship, right? Worship shouldn't be about me getting something. It's just a response in grace. I will give thanks to the Lord, for he has delivered me from every trouble. So that's how Psalm 54 ends, with a note of grace. All right, thank you all for tuning in. I hope to catch you next time. God bless.